Ep.20, which every fifth episode we do live, Mairin-Taj and I. Mairin-Taj, how are you?
I'm alright, I'm hanging in there.
Good. I just adjusted this thing and then it doesn't match the camera we had set up, so.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, so we are here in downtown Lancaster, PA, hosted by our good friends at Curio Art Supply, and I will link to their site in the description. They're wonderful people. It's Matt and Nicole, and they're both working artists and teachers, and if you got to buy art supplies, you probably want to buy them from other artists, so we cannot recommend them enough. And then, of course, the wonderful people at Blackwing, which they send me pencils and we use during the show. They are incredibly generous and awesome. So yeah, we're very lucky to have both of them supporting the show. And all you folks that are patrons on either side of our Patreon wall between Mairin-Taj's and I. And so yeah, Mairin-Taj, how are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Good.
It's a lot of modeling lately.
Yeah, so you've been very busy.
Yeah.
So does that cut into your drawing time? Do you just like come home and you're like, I don't want to even look at a sketchbook?
It can, yeah. It depends on how I'm physically feeling. Sometimes I just need to have a hot Epsom bath soak. And, I can't really be upright enough to work. But other times I can go home and do some, like I'll do warm-ups for Patreon. I have my new like demo thing coming out this Friday. So.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, you guys should be checking out her Patreon. It is very, very good. Do you want to tell us about it at all, or?
It started as just another additional resource for you guys to have more figure reference, and it's costumed, it's contemporary, it's thematic, it's
right.
Just gestural posing type stuff. But then I also do some of my own practice process drawings, demos,
which are great. Every Friday it's a
sketches.
video, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also will do like larger, more in-depth posts, but those are more irregular.
It's a great Patreon.
And it's evolving. It's been a little hit or miss because I had some really rough patches this past month with being sick and everything, but it's growing. So come on by. Yeah,
definitely check it out, especially if you're, I don't know, it's people I think that would appreciate the Patreon have to be both fans of like the practice of drawing and also the learning of drawing and the watching of other artists and how they work.
Yeah.
Which I love, so it's been a great, I'm proud to be a patron, and I can't recommend it enough, like not just because we're friends, but because I dig the Patreon, and the drawing resources are great because they can be very nuanced, like you had a month where you just did hands, and they can be more thematic, like you did a spooky ones for Halloween with the veil and everything. So
I did I think Month of Love a few years ago. I did more like romantic poses between people or
you are a big fan of mermaids and using them as like a symbol of various things in your work, and then you gave us references for mermaids, so that it's a great place to get both art and art resources. So
thank you.
Yes, and I will link to that in the comments also. So yeah, anyway, the point of this show is to draw live while we talk about art and stuff. So we'll get that in a minute. Also, since we're live, you can ask questions. Yeah, so
we love that.
Mairin-Taj will be checking the live stream from time to time while we're working. So yeah, drop them in the stream, and we'll try to get to any questions or comments or anything you're curious about. This is your opportunity also if you want to ask about past shows, like things that we've covered that you didn't, maybe there was something that we skipped or missed or something. So by all means, please get in there and ask questions. With that, I guess we'll get working. We've been talking about 5 minutes of me blabbering. I'm sorry.
And you're also welcome to prompt us.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's something you want to see, like us cover artistically, like that's perfectly on the table, perfectly okay on the table, whatever. I'm mixing my metaphors, and
So, do you want to do more 3 minutes to start?
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah. No
just
pressure.
accidentally closed the
All good.
thing, so I have
And
to
we
open
are, with this new setup, we're like here is safe.
it. Okay,
So as long as you don't go past this line, you're
Alright.
kind of good.
sounds good. Can you see me okay? Because if you're
Yeah. This thing makes it funny with your feet, but
yeah.
otherwise we're good.
All right. Okay, let's start.
All right. So until people ask questions, I figured we'd also talk about whatever. We always have a theme for the show, like for that particular day, the subject we want to talk about, and often we don't stick with that theme very strictly. So it's just sort of a launch pad for discussion. But this month is March, and I mentioned an expression that you hadn't heard. You said, right?
No, I hadn't. I really hadn't.
So it's this thing, and maybe I'm just hearing it from like old people back in the day, but there was this, March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb, meaning the weather is kind of vicious and rough at the beginning of the month, coming in from the end of February, and then chills out. Starts to get warmer and nicer, although, like today it can get rainy. And it made me think about that in terms of an artistic practice, right? Like, it's probably human nature when you like want to get into something new to kind of get overly excited about it. I'm going to buy all the materials. I'm going to buy every pencil. I'm going to buy every cool sketchbook. I'm going to, jump in without really thinking much about a plan, and then you get derailed. I think we think of that in January with people joining the gym, but I think it also carries over to new practices like deciding to start drawing.
Or even trying to revitalize something for yourself, revitalize
Correct.
your practice.
Correct.
Well,
So I guess that's what I'm kind of at, like, is there a better way to do this? My gut says I'd rather just come in like a lamb, but maybe I'm just a wimp. But start small and just build it up. But what did you think?
Well, I feel like I'm in a phase of my life too where personally I want to be a little bit more, to use the metaphor, lamb-like.
Yeah.
I'm seeing in so many ways how both with a personal life and also with a practice like drawing and art, how the gentler, the steadier, the more grounded ways of doing things is just all around that more beneficial.
I agree.
So I'll probably always advocate for that, really, with anything. But it also just made me think of in probably other cultures too, but in Celtic lore, the month of February is known as the wolf month or the storm month.
Huh.
Because that's when weather is like kind of intense and crazy and can get really bleak, but can also swing really radically, and that leaks into March. So I just noticing that it seems like in the West we have this idea of starting the year off like really
Intense.
ferociously and intense,
Yeah.
and that can peter out quick. It's like burning hot and heavy, and then
Yeah. I that's kind of where I'm at. I think, and it's easier for us to say, having already. Oh yeah, I guess we should. Sorry. It's easier for us to say because we're years into our personal practice or pursuit of whatever this art thing is going to be, and it's easy to forget like probably what sustained you in the beginning is just that passion to chase this thing down, and I don't know if you always start out slow and that's always a good thing. Maybe you need a little bit of like, I don't know, that fire to kind of burn a little too hot, so that like what we're talking about with nature, maybe you do need that wolf kind of weather, so that you can end up with the May flowers, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I don't want to say that go slow and be a lamb is just the way to do it, no matter where you are in your journey. I just wonder if I don't know. I guess I'm hoping to figure it out while we're talking and drawing. Like, is one better than the other, or is it just that's where we are right now? and maybe that wouldn't have been good when we were 18. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, I'm definitely more gentler in my methods and practices than I would have been when I was a teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
And to that, like with everything, there's a season, you know. So, and even micro seasons are transitional seasons in your practice. That. You know, like maybe you have, or maybe you need to be. Maybe you're fighting it, but maybe you need to be in a transitional season in your work where you're going through a little bit of storm time, or maybe you need to be in a phase where, you know, you're at the plateau and you just need to relax about not seeing the horizon for what it is. I don't know.
That's yeah. No, I think that there's something to that because I've been writing a lot, and I don't consider myself a writer, but I have this series I have to develop for Image, and it's been like 2 years now of fighting with this story and writing. And I've been working with a new editor, and I say, "Oh, hey, evidently the Cosmos is telling me to switch pencils." And it's been like a slow build of this thing, which has been driving me crazy, and it's been very little progress. And then it's funny because I walked into this thinking, okay, I want to be more like a lamb, but now that you mentioned this, you know, micro seasons or just accepting where you are at the moment, I'm finally getting somewhere with the script. And I kind of burned through it. Like it's been 2 years of just fighting every inch, like for every inch of progress. And then in the last like week, I banged out 3 of the scripts where they feel good to me, and the editor's like, hey, these are actually outstanding.
Yeah. Well, do you know was there any identifiable shift between those 2 years of fighting and then like whatever was a precursor to the actual breakthrough?
That's kind of that's what's got me thinking based on what you're saying is like, here I am saying, oh, maybe I should have been a lamb all along, but maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know. Maybe all that slow, like kind of lamb-like trying to get somewhere with this wasn't ideal. Maybe once I decided, all right, I'm just gonna burn through this. I'm gonna eat everything in sight like a wolf, right? And maybe that'll finally start working. So damn, what the hell am I talking about? I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
That's the thing, though. I feel like us creative, entrepreneurial, you know, neurospicy weirdos, we have like so many micro seasons in ourselves and in our work and in our...
I'm gonna write that shit down. Micro. There's all kinds of... So I'm gonna start collecting the Mairin-taj micro seasons.
Yeah.
I told you, right, that I started to see neurospicy show up online. I'd never heard that term until you said it.
Really?
And now people are starting to like it's something you're
everywhere.
You're connected to something.
Well, I mean this is why I've said for years now, although, you know, into the void.
Yeah.
But you know, our inner landscape as people, as beings, is, you know, the weather and the topography of our whole experience, and so we're bound to have micro seasons and
oh man, that's great.
You know, transitional seasons and awkward moments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, storms. Yeah. Man, see, yeah. I wish this is great because I think I don't know whatever the term is for when you like turn everything into an animal metaphor, right? I'm not personifying it, but I'm making it everything into sort of
the opposite of personifying.
Right. So I'm going with lambs and wolves, but you're going with seasons, and that feels like the weather versus an animal. And you know, one is way more permanent than the other, and maybe one is wiser. And I'm just, you know, I get in my own way. I don't think of things of like this is just I don't know. Maybe the first 2 years were just a drought. They were just a actual dry season in terms of making progress. But if you don't still do something to get the land ready, there's no bounty at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could take that one step further, being a plant lover. But you know, you have to check in with the kind of land conditions you currently have to prepare it appropriately. You know, maybe you're having a particularly dry winter, and it's going to need something different than you would need to prepare for the springs had you had a particularly wet winter.
Right.
You know, so I think for me anyway, like checking in and really understanding metaphorically and literally the lay of the land is more. It's going to be more useful for you, whatever you're trying to do and whatever phase of that you're trying to do it in, than just looking at. It's February. It's time for storms.
Yeah,
you know, like what if
yeah.
you might not be able to handle the storms.
God, that's holy shit. So I came in with the wrong metaphor. For sure.
I don't know.
I think you're onto something, honestly, because I would have never thought about. Because in the last, like I said, with making progress with this story, I've just felt like, well, I finally got lucky. I figured this stupid thing out.
You made a breakthrough, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of it as a breakthrough though. I thought of it as like I was a lamb, and then maybe I don't know. I have to.
You know what it was? You had a bunch of winter debris in your stream, and it was building up, and it was creating a dam, and you couldn't get through, and then you just had a little extra rain that one day, and then your stream just went over, broke through the debris, and now you're flowing.
Probably right. That's it. That's really it. Or not to go back to your previous metaphor though. Maybe I just finally gave in and like cleared the debris instead of ignoring it and complaining about it.
Yeah, right. Instead of being stagnant.
Yeah. Damn. Holy shit. I cleared the debris. Or someone did.
I don't know how that's in any way helpful to what we've been saying, but.
No, it absolutely is, I think. And
to your prompt.
No, but that's what I like about these prompts is they're not really meant to be.
It's like a springboard.
I don't want to force the conversation to fit this stupid, whatever the prompt is going to be on the YouTube icon, like the YouTube tile. I want it to feel. That's what makes this show fun for me personally. Is like I'll come to you with like, what do you think of this stupid idea? And you'll go, here's a different idea that's not so stupid. And I'll go, that's fucking great. I love that.
Here's a totally on the wall idea.
No, I love it.
Do you want to do 6 minutes?
It's entirely up to you. Whatever you're ready to do.
Let's do 6. And get a little more, maybe rendering in or something.
And I'm guessing no one's chimed in yet.
I have said hello, everyone.
Okay, good.
And I have not seen a response.
That's all good.
Hello.
There's no pressure to comment. I just don't want us to miss something.
Although I'm not sure. Do I need to refresh?
Oh, I think the chat should just do that on its own.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah. So I came into this wanting to talk about like when you're starting a new practice, should you be kind of, aggressive or not? Should you come in like a lion? I like the wolf winter one better, but should you come in like a lion and be passionate and burn all that out of your system and then get to the more like calm drawing or start one, but maybe you just do whatever is natural.
Or wherever you're at for that.
Yeah.
For the time that, wherever you're at, whatever what season you're in, and how that matches up with what you're trying to create.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I think I said this in our kind of New Year's episode. In, what was it, December or January did we do that? Like kind of.
Well, we would have recorded in December, and then it would have gone on.
Okay.
Like, so January show.
January show. I think I mentioned how for me the new year really begins. It's kind of split between like the beginning of the dark of a new cycle, which is autumn technically.
Yeah.
But also then like the real seeing the fruits of your rest period happens in the spring.
Yeah.
So like I personally again I'm still kind of in like the end of winter rest period, and I need that for myself with the way my whole system works, because if I don't get that and I don't give my creativity that kind of rest and rejuvenate time, then I don't have the stamina to produce the quality that I want to produce at any other time of the year. So like, resting the fields or giving the proper amount of, dark and cold for the amazing spring bulbs you want. Like if you don't do that, if you don't put that kind of time in, then you're not going to get really wow factor. Yeah, and I love that. And I noticed in, one of my daughters was saying the other day, she's in school in Pittsburgh, so I was on the phone with her, and she's saying how
I haven't run forever, and I just got the urge to run the other day, and I forget she went some crazy distance, and she hasn't been running. And she's like, I just like she picked up right where she left off, but she felt stronger and didn't have to like
Yeah.
suffer through the run.
Yeah.
And it made me think of what you're talking about. Like she did better by not running for a period of time and then coming back to it after having rested
Right.
than had she just muscled through it, which is what I tend to do with whatever I'm pursuing. Right, like I'm not an aggressive guy with like making people. I'm not one of these guys that's like I'm gonna make people do what I want kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in that I can only control what I can control,
Yes.
and
That's how I
that
feel
I'm
as
gonna
well.
go super hard on,
Yeah.
and that's probably not great for me in the long term. It's
Well, I think that's all entirely valid and very useful, and it's a real skill set that a lot of people don't have. But I would say it's maybe only part of the picture.
I
Like the
agree.
rest of the component there, which completely adds to what you already have completely mastered, is knowing when to rest and recuperate and be
Yeah.
a little more relaxed, because that only strengthens your how you come back to it. You know.
yeah,
So it is
yeah,
very. It's counterintuitive in this culture, but it's been known for all of time.
right.
Ultimately, that you know.
Well, and I was like a a teaching assistant for a ceramics class like many years ago when I
Oh,
was still in
cool.
college. Um, there was this thing called the Pennsylvania Governor's School for the Arts, and I went as a student, and then they asked me back as an assistant teacher. And because I look like a person that can pick things up, I got assigned the sculpture and the ceramics department, even though I was a painting major. I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
sculpture
Wow.
or ceramics. And I realized later, like, oh, it's because you need someone to mix all the clays and mix all the glazes and lift the bags of clay into a giant cement mixer and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I got that gig. But I would go in before class started, or go in like on the weekends and try to learn to throw a pot.
Oh, great.
And just because I didn't want to be an expert, I just wanted to know like I'm still a teacher's assistant. I want to be able to answer questions if something comes up. And I was struggling with it, man. It was the first time something gave me this hard of a time that was art related. I usually would just take the things, even sculpture. Like I could do additive or even subtractive sculpture and be like good, not great, but if I pursued it, I could probably have majored in any of those. But throwing a pot, I just could not do it. And finally, the professor's like, yeah, it's because you're forcing it. Like it's clay. That thing is alive, and you're trying to make it do what you want it to do.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's what I've always done artistically, right? Like I can make this line do what I want it to do, and if I don't like it, I can rub it out and start another line.
Yeah.
And that's great for learning to draw well and being kind of like vaguely frustrated all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
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 And that's been most of my life. Like drawing, I can say it now without feeling like I'm bragging, because that was also I struggle with taking compliments, and so I can say I can draw very well, and I was almost never happy about it. I was
Right?
always like, I got to do better.
I relate to that.
Yeah. But that means I was also fighting whatever season I was in.
Yes.
Like I was in the winter and I was yelling that it wasn't hot.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm in the summer and I'm yelling that it's not cooler.
Yeah. And whatever you're doing, whenever you're in a kind of a modality of resistance, everything's gonna suffer for it.
I agree.
You know,
I
and that
agree.
includes, listen up, everybody. That includes art. That includes what
Yes.
you're trying to create.
Amen.
And we live in I mean, if you're in the States or kind of a Western paradigm, we live in a culture that is very much built on not understanding that wisdom.
Yes.
You know, like,
We make things happen. We like,
Through force.
quote unquote, right?
yeah.
We're a dynamic. God, where was that quote from? Oh, damn it. There's this quote I heard this guy say, I'm from a rich, dynamic country, and that's why I like to leave it every chance I get. Right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
we throw around words like destiny
Mm.
and then do ugly shit in its name, like not quite getting the concept. This is a great pose, by the way. I am not going to do it justice. I can already
I
feel
feel like the table's in the way.
It is
A
sort
little
of
bit.
right at your hip,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I'll make it work.
Okay.
Actually, it's more this, the microphone.
Oh yeah, you can move that.
So yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I just say that, like, I'm just saying that part about our paradigm and the culture that we're probably most of us are in, just because I'm not trying to get political, but just because
Yeah.
I think it's worth acknowledging again to be a artsy fartsy weirdo, acknowledging the lay of the land that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
part of that is to really zoom out and look at the macro of it. It's hard to practice something by being forgiving and giving yourself grace in multiple seasons
Correct.
when when we're in a culture that's like nose to the grindstone, go go go.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Get your. God, I hear these kids. Get your money up.
Yeah.
You gotta grind. What's the thing? Grind culture. I forget.
Hustle culture.
Yeah, or rise and grind. I would hear kids say.
Oh, that's
And I'm
terrible.
like, dude,
Yeah.
you're gonna. Anyway, I'm not gonna get. I will get political, and I need to not do that. But you're right in that, like, art is. It is like a season. You can't control it, and
It's like nature, really.
yeah. I have to write a new column for the Draw His Life column for my Substack, and I didn't write it this month yet. It usually goes out the first week of the month because I'm on this. It's sort of related to this, and I couldn't quite figure out how to say what I wanted to say because I was trying to research. I had my mind on Van Gogh, who I've never been a fan of his work, but it also kind of bugged me that he is somehow the symbol of what we're supposed to be like. Right? We're all kind of maniacs. We're not successful in our time. We'll probably cut something off of
We're
ourselves.
brooding, we're miserable.
Right,
yeah.
right. And that always kind of bugged me. And I thought,
Yes.
there are just as many, no, there are probably more miserable scientists, but you never hear about them. Nobody goes, and I started to research scientists that were in the same time period as him that killed themselves.
Oh.
Just to try to make a point that no one goes, yeah, look at those scientists, they're going to cut their ears off or whatever.
Right.
And I didn't like where the article was going because it was getting really dark.
Yeah.
So I abandoned it and I just didn't post. But my point is though is that your culture dictates so much of that,
Yes.
right? Like whenever people talk about Van Gogh, they always go, he painted for this period of time, but he only ever sold one painting, as if that has any relevance to like the influence he has now. And then obviously everybody talks about his psychological issues, and if you think of it in the way you're talking, where we are in seasons when we're pursuing art, and then everything around us is trying to ignore that a season exists and make us feel crazy for how we're doing our art, or maybe living our lives, right? Like you said earlier, like I'm being an artsy fartsy weirdo, right? Like, and I know you don't mean that literally.
No.
But we almost do that because that's what everybody says about us. So we go, like, we preemptively go,
Absolutely.
here's this thing that you're gonna think this of me about.
Yeah, it was for sure. I was being, comedic because I was kind of almost apologizing for my perspective.
And we all do that.
Yeah.
Because, and I want to make this, I want to hopefully tie this up in a way that makes sense. It's what you're saying. We're in this culture, and you might as well talk about it and figure it out, because it's gonna pressure you whether you want to think about what it's doing to you or not.
Yes. Right.
I love this pose, but I'm not getting it right at all. And it sucks because I'm like, I don't think I can talk and think and draw at the same time, which is
It's
bad.
tough.
Yeah, it's a bad thing for a guy that's trying to do a podcast where you have to talk and think and draw at the same time.
Well,
are you good? You want to?
20 seconds. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
Stop.
that's fine if you're uncomfortable.
Whoa. My wrist. I kind of forgot that I did that for 6 minutes, and then my wrist was starting to hurt.
Oh Lord, yeah, no, that's not good.
Yeah, no, I think in that way, art is political, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like we have so much to offer and say, and we really have to kind of help the world morph and change.
Amen.
And then in our own practice, I just want to sort of pitch to anyone listening: don't try to force or terraform your practice.
Oh my God, don't.
Don't terraform your practice, your work, your art, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, oh my Lord.
Which is real. I mean, I'm saying something so easily, and that is kind of impossible given the lay of the land in this culture right now in this country.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that I personally am really fighting for myself, and also anytime I have discussions like this with you and with other artists, I just want to kind of put that out there to share that because I think it's really important for us to sort of incrementally, little baby steps in our own worlds, and then more collectively together we can be like change.
Yeah.
You know?
My God, yeah. No, that's fantastic. Oh my Lord. No, I realized with the stupid script and all, like I needed this conversation to figure some stuff out.
Oh,
because there's a part of me that like when you look at it as I got lucky. I finally had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
You're always afraid that like is that luck gonna run out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's also like it isn't quite a fixed way of thinking, but it is a scarcity way of thinking.
Ah, that's it.
You know?
That's it. I'm worried of running out.
Right, and I think art fundamentally, like nature, is not scarcity. So we have to like be like, no, what? I'm not gonna swallow that. What is the wrong pill? Is it the blue pill?
I never remember. I think
I know.
I never. So I'm gonna admit to something. I didn't like that movie. I freaking hated it. I never watched the next two.
Oh, they were so worse.
Okay. I remember thinking this is the least creative thing. Like you just told me the world doesn't exist and you can think stuff and make it happen.
Uh-huh.
And all he's doing is kung fu
Yeah.
and dodging bullets. You know what I mean?
There's so many other options.
Yeah. So, but no, you know, if you're a fan of the movie, I'm sorry. I'm not judging you. But yeah, I get your point though. Man, scarcity thinking with something that doesn't run out. Holy shit.
Because that's also limiting the practice and the art and whatever you're trying to force it to be something it's not, you know.
You gotta write these things down.
I do have a newsletter if anyone wants
that
my
is true.
wordiness.
That is true.
I try to make it succinct, but it's a struggle for me.
No, this is good. All right.
I'm gonna check the.
Yeah, please do.
Unless I have to refresh, there's 2 likes. Okay. No questions yet.
That's okay.
You want another 6 or longer?
I'm gonna let you decide, just so that
Okay.
you're comfortable. You're the one that's been doing this multiple days in a row.
Yeah. It's a busy week.
Yeah.
I'm incrementally going up, so we'll do 9 minutes.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm just sitting here. So.
All right. And we're at 3.5 minutes, so
Okay.
we start to wrap this up.
Yeah. This would be a very casual, contemporary pose.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know if you have anything else related to that to add. But
No. If you have something more, please.
It did occur to me that it is, apparently March 8th is International Women's Day.
That's correct.
So it is also a women-forward micro season that we're now kind of going through. And I think it's a great time to just shout out to, women identifying artists and take a look at what they're doing and celebrate that.
Amen. Yeah, for real. Honestly, I think there's a lot. We've talked about some of the interesting takes that come into play, even with classical material that we all sort of take for granted. I think I mentioned the Italian sculptor that did the Medusa holding Perseus's head. It's like we've all heard that story a million times, right? But what happens when you have a woman tell the story?
Yeah.
Right? Because Medusa, they did her wrong. Like, it's easy to go, like, look at that snake-headed lady. I'm glad they chopped her head off. and forget all the shit they did to her.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
have a soft spot for Medusa.
Yes.
I really
yes.
love her.
And so I think even if you don't like women, which I don't know how you get there, but let's say you don't, and you should want to hear new versions of stories that artists have already told us.
Yes, right,
know?
because there's always different perspectives.
Yeah. My oldest daughter is reading a new translation of. She's already read the Odyssey and she's working on the Iliad, or maybe it's flip-flopped. And it's this new, and I feel terrible, it's this new translation by a woman scholar.
Oh, great. Wow.
Who, and the reason that matters, and again, I think often when these things are talked about, even if it's not, like if we start picking sides, we say their side hates DEI, our side doesn't, and all this stuff. But even the sides that we think we connect with, I'm shocked how often they'll just go, yeah, we got to hear women, women power, and sort of like these weird platitudes. It's like, what is it? Where this scholar is literally taking, she's translating from scratch and is catching all these things that, like, guys, all the men that have translated before her have just like, that's not important. There's a woman that does a thing.
Wow.
We'll just skip that out. So you didn't even get the whole story.
Yeah, right.
Right? And this to me is a more concrete, perfect example of, you really need this and here's why, right?
Yes.
It's not just some silly thing that you guys can all dismiss as, look at this DEI hire of something and she's now gonna nag me about something. That's not it at all. There's this whole new story that's a story you've already not just heard, but like kind of took to heart and just accepted that this was the version.
Yeah, right.
And so
right.
I wish I had read it and I could give you the specific examples, but she was explaining to me like, hey, this character doesn't even speak in the regular translation, and here she is, and she gives this really important like bit of information, or someone does something that has been just completely omitted from the.
Did she mention anything about Cersei?
She may have, actually.
She's like she's seen as like in that culture. She's seen as like the first sorceress or first.
She may have. I'll have to ask her.
That'd be cool if she actually speaks or something.
I will find out for you. Hopefully, I don't forget. But yeah.
In the like the traditional one, she's just sort of like a love interest that gets fucked over.
Yeah, which is that's always the case, right?
Yeah.
And like one of the examples I have always liked is when you hear the actual story of Pericles, right? Or I'm sorry, Heracles.
Yeah.
In Western culture, he's just like a big, strong guy that beats people up.
Yeah.
And occasionally goes nuts, but then he's always a good guy, right? In the actual story, like someone makes him go nuts with some spell and he kills his whole family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so right out the gate.
That's very different.
Yeah, that's very, very different. And then he has to like atone for it with these challenges. And everybody knows that. Oh, he's got to kill this lion and wear its skin and blah, blah, blah. But like one of the challenges is he has to live with an old lady for a really long time. And she like makes him dress as a woman and do chores.
Wow.
No one talks about Heracles in a dress washing dishes.
But they should.
Right. That's a way more interesting story.
Oh my God.
Not that you omit that he's a big, strong dude and still kills lions and shit.
But like you flesh out the story more.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we have just bought and not questioned anymore. And I think when you have women scholars come onto the scene and they go, hey, look, it's going to piss people off for sure.
Great.
but I'd rather know that I got the whole story.
Yes. Yeah, and that also often helps you determine people who are more open-minded and curious leading than the people who are like stuck in their regime. Yeah,
because do you want the story or do you want propaganda?
Yes.
Right. Like, that's hurting you too, dude. Like, I don't know. I just like Heracles is this superhero before there were superheroes, who's like doing horrible things.
Yeah.
You know, imagine it's Captain America, but like, oops, I killed my kids.
Yeah. Right.
You know, we have this like weirdly, and I'm not. I should be careful. I'm not saying, hey, we should like kill a kid just to be more rounded out as
No.
men. I'm saying that the stories are way more interesting and nuanced, and we as men don't get annoyed enough that other men have decided like, yeah, you don't need that whole version of the story.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like as a dude, that annoys me. Or who are you? If we're gonna get into this kind of macho talk, who are you to decide for me that I don't get the whole story?
Right.
So.
Right. Especially when the fragmented, botched together stories so squeaky clean by
Yes.
design. It's like,
Yes.
who are you to think that you're squeaky clean or that I should be squeaky clean?
Yeah.
You know.
Again, like there's this movie Troy that's a big deal with Brad Pitt playing
Oh yeah.
Achilles, right? Like, and the whole story revolves around this guy's just an Uberman, and then his cousin's killed because they think he's killed in battle by Hector because Hector thought it was actually Achilles.
Yeah.
In the actual story, they're probably lovers,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But no one.
We don't want to talk about
No,
that.
no.
Yeah, he lamented him quite
Yes.
dearly when he found out he was killed.
Same with Gilgamesh, right? Like that's credited as being the oldest story ever told, and it has all kinds of like precursor stories for like all kinds of things that we just take for granted now, including like Moses and Noah and all this stuff.
Right.
You know, and he gets this. He's like basically Superman, and no one can stop him, and he kicks everybody's ass. And then they send them this like wild man, Enkidu, and you can't tell me like these two guys are in love. And when he's killed, when Enkidu is killed, he misses this guy.
Yeah.
And none of that is ever really covered. So anyway, I'm going on and on and on. But my point is that my daughter sort of had me thinking in those terms of you really do need women scholars, women artists to like show us more of a picture we thought we already saw.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, you know, just having that different perspective can operate as, it's like we're going around like well-treaded, long dug territory, and we're like picking up pieces that someone thought was junk and going, actually, look at this.
Yeah.
Let's uncover this.
And even the way, I'm not challenging you on this, but even the like seeing another perspective idea always kind of bugs me because I'm like, that's not even another perspective. You just omitted stuff.
Yeah.
And she's just showing us, in the case of this particular scholar, she's just showing us what was already there.
Right.
That you guys decided not to show us.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we're at 43 minutes, so we'll call it a day. So no comments I'm taking.
I don't think so.
I feel like I ran on with that last comment.
No, I think that was a really great point about like looking at taking a second look or a millionth look. All right. I don't see anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is okay. I need to do a better job of planning these farther out so that
more
like
notice.
people know. Yeah, especially 1 o'clock is good unless you're in the West Coast, right? That's like 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So we'll have to if you're listening and you have any ideas of how far out we should plan these things so that you can plan for seeing them, we'd love to hear about that. So drop it in the comments and let us know.
Preferred time.
Yeah, what can we do that would make the live shows better?
Yeah.
Because we'd love to hear from you guys, and this is our opportunity to open up the lines and hear what you think. So Mairin-Taj, we've talked about your Patreon. I'll link it in the description. Is there anywhere else you want to direct people?
If you want to get in touch with me quickly, my website is the best place, but all my links, Patreon, website, everything is on my Instagram.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
And your Instagram, you have. Do we talk about the other Instagram? You have two.
Oh, I have a more personal Instagram, which is just me in nature doing yoga and like outdoor stuff.
Okay.
That
feels like your philosophy Instagram.
Yeah, that's like my. I sometimes do my poetry on there too, but that's like my wilderness training inspired thing.
But the main one is.
But yeah, for art and all of these purposes, it's Studio Mair, Mair.
Perfect. And I'll link that. I think I link it in the descriptions, but
okay.
If I don't, I'm sorry. I forget sometimes. And I don't know if I mentioned, I'm Mike Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And I am very grateful to everybody that's watching the show, supporting the show.
Yes.
Grateful to Mairin-taj for putting up with my goofy prompts and then making them sound smart.
And Curio.
And Curio for hosting us. Please, if you need art supplies and you're anywhere in the area, stop by the store. Please tell them we sent you. I promise you will love it.
Yeah.
Downtown Lancaster is very cool, so you can also stop and get lunch and
Yeah, there's some good foodie spots right around the corner.
right. And we are technically at the corner of their sort of arts district.
Mm-hmm.
So if you turn a corner from the shop, there's several galleries you can check out. So and also again, Blackwing. We love Blackwing.
Yay.
So yeah, thank you for coming by, and we'll talk to you guys next month. Bye. I'll let you fumble with this for an hour.